Not a bad turnout. Result, I think, was rather interesting. Mark Rochester on 17, just under 17,000. Conservatives vote share sort of down to under 14,000. Labour more than halving. But I mean, that is a story we shouldn't underplay. 349 votes, absolutely abysmal. They had 8,000 votes before, and the Greens doing really quite well too. So sort of insurgent parties doing rather well.
And a majority there of, what, just under 3,000, so perhaps smaller than some had expected.
Well, you know, by the standards of what Douglas Carswell did in Clacton, it is quite small, but 3,000 is not bad. But yes, UKIP were a bit nervous yesterday at some points, and it wasn't quite where the polls said it was going to be. Let's see what the shift in the share of the vote was. So it leaves you with UKIP on 42%, the Conservatives on 35%, Labour on 17%. That awful Lib Dem vote share of under 1%, not even making it to 1.
Absolutely extraordinary, isn't it?
And the question for me is where some of this... Well, firstly, the Conservatives, they would say we held up all right there, went from 50 to 35. Not bad. That is the result of the kitchen sink strategy.
The Prime Minister visiting several times.
Several times, lots of money, lots of, hundreds of activists. So they kept respectable, and they'll feel that they can attack back in the general election. Labour, they held this seat in 2010, just 4 years ago. So, I'd say that wasn't very good, but they're sort of playing it all down, saying in a by-election you get a different dynamic.
Of course, but when you look at the change in the share of the vote, that kind of really tells you a lot of what was going on behind the scenes. It
does tell you a story, and it shows you, I would say, a plague on all your houses. All the mainstream parties doing badly, clearly them gaining from the Conservatives, but gaining from Labour, and the Liberal Democrats doing abysmally too. But what we showed in the package before, which is that gaining from Labour too in certain parts of this constituency.
And of course 168 days now until the general election, 168 days for all these parties to pore over these results. What does this all mean for UKIP in terms of seats? Because of course they'd identified 25 seats, 12 of those in particular they're targeting.
So what Nigel Farage told me was that they were using the data they've gathered to hone their seat strategy. This is what we have so far. I mean, they targeted 25 seats more generally, and then they honed that down to 12. You see, a lot in Kent, North Thanet, South Thanet, Sittingbourne and Sheppey, Thurrock, a Labour seat up there in Great Grimsby. But these are the seats they say they think they've got a good chance in.
And of course, Ask I analysts have identified 6 in particular.
Yep. These are the ones that Michael Thrasher feels are of particular, that they really have got quite a good chance in. The ones I'd really highlight is this one, South Thanet. That's where Nigel Farage is standing, Margate, that area.
The key question, of course, is are we going to see a sea of purple come election day? What's your prediction here?
I don't think we're going to see a sea of purple.
Not a sea of purple. Are we going to see a heavy sprinkling of purple?
I think that they've got a chance in those seats where they can take both from red and from blue simultaneously. Where they can do that, they've got a chance because that's what they've shown. So it would, both main parties were losers today, and that will encourage UKIP. But they are going to really hyper-target where they think that they can win, and they're using this data to hone that strategy.
Very interesting 6 months. Faisal, thank you.